Welcome to Housing Counseling Competency, Responsibilities of Homeownership and Tenancy, Section 3.2. We'll be discussing Consumer Financial Protection Bureau protections. In January 2013, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau issued the following rules regarding processing and applying mortgage payments. Full periodic mortgage payments must be credited by the servicer as of the day they are received. Some definitions include the fact that a payment that is sufficient to cover principal, a full mortgage payment is a payment that is sufficient to cover principal, interest, and escrow. It is still a full mortgage payment even if the borrower does not pay amounts required to be paid for late fees. Payments are received when the payment instrument reaches the mortgage servicer, not when the funds come out of the borrower's account. Full payments can only be credited on a later date if there is no fee and no negative credit impact, or if the payment does not conform to reasonable payment requirements. For example, there's no account number, or the payment is made outside the payment cutoff hours. However, the servicer must still credit this payment within 5 days. The servicer can decide what to do with partial payments. For example, they may choose to credit the partial payment upon receipt, they may return it to the borrower, or they may put it in a suspense account until the borrower has paid enough money to make a full payment, and then it can be applied to their account. The servicer must indicate on any periodic statement the current total being held in a suspense account, the total since the last statement in a suspense account, and the total for the calendar year. And once enough money has been paid into a suspense account for a full mortgage payment, then the servicer must treat the funds like a full payment. The CFPB also provides limitations on pyramiding late fees. Pyramiding fees are when the servicer applies the mortgage payments to existing late fees, causing the current mortgage payment to be partial. New fees then stack up or pyramid since the servicer considers the borrower to be continuously delinquent. Servicers are not allowed by the CFPB to impose a late fee if the charge is due solely to failure to pay a late fee on an earlier payment. This will protect our borrowers from entering into foreclosure simply because of late fees accruing. Let's discuss force-placed insurance. Force-placed insurance is hazard insurance obtained by a servicer that insures the property. A servicer is allowed to charge the borrower a premium and fee for force-placed insurance if they have reason to believe the borrower has failed to maintain hazard insurance. A servicer cannot purchase force-placed insurance for a borrower whose mortgage payment is more than 30 days overdue if the servicer has established an escrow account, because they have the money in escrow to make the insurance payments, unless they cannot disperse the funds because the policy has been canceled or there are insufficient funds in the escrow account to cover the escrow payment. To prove that the borrower has continuous insurance coverage, a servicer can require the insurance policy declaration page, the insurance certificate, or the insurance policy. CFPB requires the servicer to send a notice at least 45 days before charging the borrower a force-placed insurance charge. The notice must include the information listed on this slide: the date of the notice, the servicer's name, borrower's name, a request that identifies the property by its address, and a statement that the hazard insurance is expiring or has expired. and that the servicer does not have evidence that the borrower has hazard insurance coverage past the expiration date. The notice must also include a warning in bold that if the servicer purchases hazard insurance, it may cost more and provide less coverage than an insurance policy purchased by the borrower. After that first notice, the servicer should send a second reminder notice 30 days later. And then 15 days after that second notice, they may charge the borrower for force-placed insurance premiums or fees. The amount that they charge must be bona fide and reasonable. Within 15 days of receiving evidence that the borrower has purchased hazard insurance, the servicer must cancel the force-placed insurance, refund any force-placed insurance premiums or fees for any period of time with dual insurance coverage, and remove from the borrower's account all charges and fees for any period of time with dual insurance coverage. The following errors are specifically listed in the regulation: failure to accept a qualified payment or properly apply a payment or credit a payment the day it was received, or to pay taxes or insurance premiums, to refund money in an escrow account, inaccurate fees, or failure to provide an accurate mortgage payoff or provide accurate loss mitigation information. A borrower must send a written notice of error to the servicer, but what counts as a written notice? A note on a payment coupon or other payment form supplied by the servicer does not count. A qualified written request does count as a written error notice. A qualified written request includes the name and account of the borrower, and it states the reasons the borrower believes there is an error with enough detail for the servicer to investigate the potential error. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau requires the servicer to respond to error notices in a reasonable amount of time. If they receive an error notice regarding failure to provide an accurate payoff balance, they must respond within 7 days. For initiating an improper foreclosure, they must respond before the foreclosure sale or within 30 days after the notice of error is received. With all other errors, they must respond in less than 30 days after the notice of error is received. This can be extended by 15 days if they send a written notice of the extension to the borrower. The servicer does not have to acknowledge the notice of error if they correct the error and notify the borrower within 5 days of receiving the notice of error. Or, for a foreclosure, if the notice of error is received 7 or fewer days before a foreclosure sale, because there simply would not be enough time for them to stop the sale. So it's important to get those notices of error in early to the servicer so that they have time enough to process them before a foreclosure is completed. The CFPB also specifies time to respond to requests for information. Regarding a request for the identity of the owner of a mortgage loan, they have 10 days to respond. And all other requests for information allow 30 to 45 days. 45 days if that 15-day extension is noted and sent to the borrower. The borrower must send a written request to the servicer to request a payoff statement, and then the servicer must send an accurate statement of the total outstanding balance. The CFPB requires that the statement be accurate and that it be sent no later than 7 business days after receiving the written request from the borrower. This concludes Section 3.2 regarding CFPB protections.